Hello again, welcome to European Autocraft Studios. Today is 9/11 window switch day. This pertains to the cars from 1974 with power windows up to 1998. They all use the same circuit. There's a little bit of difference in the power window relay that came on a little bit later, I think 1984. But this will cover how it all works, and the power supply with the window relay is something a little separate. I'll show you that after. It's pretty simple. But let's start with the passenger window. I'm not using left and right because whether the car is a left-hand drive or right-hand drive, we still have a driver's side with two window switches. So let's start with the passenger window. That's just because it's a little bit easier to show. I get a little more confusion over here. So this is our passenger window switch. It gets its supply from the driver's side window switch. The power goes into the driver's side and then it's distributed to the right side, passenger side. So it has control over the window as well. So if the passenger wants the window down, we just flip the switch to the down position, and what happens inside the switch is this terminal, number 2, that goes to the motor, stays 12 volts. It doesn't move inside the switch, and I'll show you how that works. But this toggle does. This goes from 12 volts down to ground, so the window will go down. The motor will turn in the one direction. If you put the window switch in the up position, the number 2 terminal will switch to ground because 4 goes to ground, and this one doesn't move. It stays on 12 volts, thus reversing the polarity, making the window go the other way. But what happens if I want the switch down, but the driver wants the window up? I want the window down, he wants the window up. Well, we don't blow fuses, we don't short anything out, the window stops moving. And here's why. If I put the switch in the down position, I stay connected here, which is 12 volts. You can see how the power source goes through this switch, and this one goes to ground. If I put the switch up, I now take my 12 volt signal and it goes to ground. So now we have 2 grounds going to the motor instead of 1. And that'll make the window stop. If we both go up at the same time, the signals all stay the same and the window just continues on its merry way in either direction. Driver's window switch is pretty straightforward. We have 2 12 volt sources here. Even if you pull the window switch out, you'll see this jumper wire in the harness right behind the switch. So these stay 12 volts. Terminals 1 and 2 go to the driver's motor, and the same thing happens. All 3 switches are identical. We go to put the window up. The only toggle that moves inside is this one. It goes to ground while the other one stays positive, and then the opposite happens. Now let me show you that inside the window switch. This is one of the window switches, and this is how the terminals are set up inside. This is terminal, I think that's 2. Yeah. This is terminal 2. This is terminal 1. You see that they're consistent. They don't move. They stay connected with this rocker. Oh boy, look what I did. This is such a pain to get back in. Okay, so if you look, when the window switch is in the neutral state, this one doesn't move. This one is touching this terminal. This one is touching that terminal. When I rock the switch up, this one can rock, disconnecting this terminal, but this one doesn't move, it stays there. And same in the opposite direction. This one will go to that terminal, but this one stays the same. So this one stays in its neutral state, and that's pin 1 connected to pin 4. You can see the numbers back there. Now pin 4, internally, see there's a blank. There's a blank over here. That's actually pin 4. So when these are rocking back and forth down to pin 4, or this one goes up to pin 4, it's because it's connected internally inside the switch. Now what happens with these window switches on these cars is it's a pretty common problem. That's why we have such a nice display here to show you. First of all, the window switch bodies. Um, this is the pre, I forget what year they changed. I think the 993, the 964, 1989, the Carrera 4 started with the single um, round pins. Up to that point were the quarter-inch spade connectors, spade terminals. And these were individual wires that go on. If you're going to replace your window switch, you better get these right, because all kinds of things can happen if you put the wires on wrong. The window will just go down on its own and stay on, causing the circuit breaker to trip and make the window energize and then de-energize. So you got to be very careful with these wires in the color code when you take them off. The later ones are simple. One connector, it only goes on one way. So let's get down to what happens here. These window switches, I've been watching these. I've been with Porsche for a very long time, and I started collecting window switches when they were breaking. We were just replacing them, not repairing them, and you don't repair a window switch. Well, I do. But so I saved all these. I have bucketfuls of them. And I tried to find a way, instead of spending $50, $60 on a window switch, there's got to be a way to make this part not break. So over the years, I developed this product. I came up with a way to make it out of aluminum and not short out internally. So if you look, the shiny ones are the early window switches. You don't really see those anymore. But when they break, the little tab breaks off, and the window switch will stay in one state. What that does, it leaves the window on. It'll leave the window on either up or down, and it causes the motor circuit breaker internally to cycle. And it will cycle several times, in fact quite a few times, before it finally starts to get weak and the window will no longer have connection. It won't work anymore. So there's a number of these switches out on the market. There's these are the ones actually manufactured through Porsche, and this is one that's an aftermarket switch. These are kind of sloppy. They don't feel good. They last, but the same thing can happen. The little pin breaks on the toggle and causes it to go sideways. I've tried to replace the toggles in these aftermarket switches too. They don't always work out. The internals aren't the same. It's just not a real good quality replacement. So we don't need that. So what I came up with is these aluminum window switch toggles. I know it's kind of an extreme to replace just one little part of your window switch. You can buy a new switch over the counter. But this works much better. This is a much better quality. It's made out of aluminum. It doesn't break. And I can replace any toggle in any switch from 74 to 1998, including, which is kind of odd, is these old Mercedes-Benz switches. This little rocker, you see the little rocker, this is from a vintage Mercedes. These are the old style, like the old SLs and the SEs and all the old Mercedes. These have the little switches in the console. And by accident, I discovered that these are exactly the same type of switch. The terminals are the same. They're numbered differently, but it's plug and play. I can actually put one of my toggles in an old Mercedes window switch and it works. It's amazing. Anyways, so let's get back to this. I'm selling these toggles. They're $25 each. You can send me the switch. I'll replace them. That's a 944 switch, same thing. I can replace the just the toggle, clean all the terminals inside, and you'll have a great working window switch. It'll last forever. This is one of the toggles I made. I have them in just raw aluminum. In case your car, you can buy these aluminum accessories like the door lock button, the door lock knobs. You can have them made out of aluminum or replace them with an aluminum one. Same with the key surround. It has that brushed aluminum look. So it's great if you wanted to sort of keep the theme inside the car. We can do them in the aluminum. And they're bulletproof. You can't break them. They work great. They have a better sound and a better feel than the plastic. So if you like the aluminum, that's one way to go. The standard black, if you just want to replace them with the black, I sold a lot of these. We did them in a test group. I sold a bunch and got a lot of feedback, and they don't fail, they don't short out, they've been tested many, many times. And here, if you like that little extra bling, I made them out of chrome. So, haven't sold one yet. But I have a few. I just thought it'd be kind of fun since we're doing all of them. Having them made, I could have them made out of chrome too, made with chrome plating. But those haven't sold. But if you like the chrome, a little extra bling. The switches come apart fairly easy. Here's one of the things that happens when the window jams. I don't know if you can get a look at this. When the window jams, it overheats inside the switch and melts the little pin that pushes down on these. They're spring loaded. I had a bunch of springs made because the springs get overheated and they're not springy anymore. So I can rebuild these switches just as easy as replacing it, but it's a lot cheaper and you get a better quality product. So if your window switch is crooked and doesn't feel right, or just you don't like the feel of it, I can help you with that. You can just send me an email at europeanautocraft@gmail.com. If you're interested in any of this, I can show you how it works. If you can take the window switch out yourself, I can show you how to replace the toggles. It's pretty easy. In fact, I'll show you one. If you there's slots underneath the bezel. You just pop them out, and then the toggle comes out. What I do is I take the terminals out, I clean them all up, and I'll put a little dielectric grease in the center, not on the terminals, but just in the center. And you put those back in. You can just take these out with the spring, if your spring's not damaged, and put them in the new one. You just put them right back, right into the new one here. Before I send them out, I have to clean up all the holes and stuff, but you get the idea. You put the new toggle in, and I should have had them ready to go. And it just snaps right back together again. The bezel's a little tricky to get back on because the mounting where these mount, you have to get that underneath the bezel while you snap it back on. So it's a little bit tedious. I've done 1,000 of them, so you can do it. It's a little tricky, but of course it's more difficult when I have somebody staring at me with a camera. But anyways. Well, the end product is like this. It looks great. Takes a little time, but to do it right, you'll have a nice product in the end. So that's the toggles, easy to replace. I got thousands of them. And you can send me your switch and I'll do it. I'll send them right back, probably about $10 in shipping and or less. I'll send those back to you all ready to go. I can usually do them in a day, turn them around in a day if you want some new window switches. So let's go back to this real quick on the diagram and some other things that can happen. This B plus could be anything. You could have this. This is connected to your fuse panel to 15 power. There's the the power window relay has B plus 30 and 15. It goes into the relay here. This also gets a signal from your dome light switch, our door switch. The output goes, instead of 15, goes to the window switch here, goes to the relay here. Relay. So when you get out of your car, close the door, dome light comes on, close the door, dome light goes off. That's what turns off this relay. So if you're sitting in the car and you shut the key off, you can still put your windows down. Let's say you forgot to put the windows up. Sitting in your driveway, you shut the car off, but the windows are down. You can still put the windows up. This relay uses 30 power. Even though there's no more power on 15, it uses the 30 power to keep the circuit alive. When you open the door, that sends a signal to this control relay and it turns it off. Now, sometimes your battery goes dead mysteriously. You don't know why. A lot of times it's not the relay's fault, but it's the door pin switch. This relay never shuts off. So if you're having trouble with your battery dying, or the car cranks a little bit weaker in the morning, just check to see if with the key out and the door open, your windows still work. If they do, they're not supposed to. That means this door pin switch hasn't sent the signal to the relay to turn it off. That's a very common problem. There's a little rubber boot that goes over the switch. That boot gets hard and doesn't flex anymore, and it keeps the switch from coming out all the way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If the dome light doesn't work in your car, it's a good possibility that that switch isn't sending the signal to the relay. And again, I think that's 84 and up. I can elaborate more on this if you guys want. How to check it, it's pretty simple. If the dome light doesn't come on, your relay's probably not working, unless the dome light's broken. But what you can do is pull the boot off the switch and just grab the switch and pull it out and twist it a little bit, and you'll see the light come on, and that'll deactivate the relay. Very rarely do you have a relay fault. It's usually the switch not turning it off. And that's about it. So that's about it on the circuit. If you have any questions, send me just send me an email, or send me mention in the comments. If you don't understand anything I said, I can go over it again a little bit more simpler. But I did get a little complex on this, so let me know what you think. We'll see you next week. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. All you 911 guys, you're doing a lot of 911 work in here, so subscribe to see more of that. More detailed diagrams and more detailed engine type work. So yeah, subscribe. Give us the likes, thumbs up, and the notification button you want to hit, so you get all the good notifications and things that are coming up in the future here. Our throwaway project is starting next week. I hope, again, next week. And I could just babble on for days, so we'll stop here. Thank you.